It's almost time for the Daytona 500, and that means journalists, those who write books, are looking at Christmas. And the first one is already off the presses. Liz Clark's One Hell of a Ride, How NASCAR Swept the Nation. She writes for the Washington Post, she used to write for the Charlotte Observer. Been doing this stuff for almost 20 years, I guess. Has a pretty good background. We'll see how she fares in her look at NASCAR. Of course, nobody's going to beat the all-time best book, in my opinion, Jerry Bledsoe's The World's #1, flat-out, all-time great stock car racing book. This is Back to Basics. This is NASCAR, 1971, 1972, and 1973. Junior Johnson, Bobby Allison, Richard Petty, Cale Yarborough, David Pearson, the Wood Brothers. This is Back to Basics, like Brian likes to say. Might be out of print now, I don't know. This is my Bible. I love this thing. But what we're looking at today is politics. It's not only the season for books and the Daytona 500 and books about the Daytona 500 and books about NASCAR, it's also about politics. And we're probably going to see a bunch of politicians at races this year, for better or worse. The guy that I'm keeping an eye on is Jeff Burton. Jeff Burton drives for Richard Childress, has a shot at winning the Daytona 500, of course, has a shot at winning the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship. I think when he gets through with racing, he's going to run for Congress, maybe for senator. Listen to the way he talks. Listen to the way he explains things. He's one of the best in the business, squeaky clean. He's going to get my vote.
You know, I was over Christmas. I went to Ward's house, and his Daytona 500 trophy was in his house there. And, you know, I don't know what it was about it, but I saw that trophy, and it was like it was the first time I'd ever seen it. And my son was down there. He's 7, and I said, "You know what that is?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's the Daytona 500 trophy." And you know, it's pretty special seeing that trophy. And you know, as a guy that, you know, Ward's obviously not in a position to have a ride right now. You know, having that trophy sitting there, that's the biggest race you can possibly win in our sport. And that's something no one can ever take away from him. And that's something that he'll always cherish, and his family will. And, you know, that's a special thing. It's you know, any win is a big win. But when you can look at, you look at a, trophy like this and have that sitting in your house, that's a different kind of win. And it's one of those that lasts forever, and it has so much meaning of the importance of it. So the 50th anniversary only enlightens and enhances that, and it would be really special.
Elliott Sadler last week said the bumpers match up so well on these cars that he expects bump drafting to be even more of an issue here than it's been in the past. What you're thinking about bump drafting at Daytona? Well,
I think he's probably right. The great question is honestly how the car is going to handle, and my inclination is that they're going to handle bad enough where I don't think bump drafting is going to be the factor. I think the factor is going to be who can put the car where they want to put them. You know, bump drafting really becomes a problem when you have the 43 car packs with no other option to pass somebody other than get the bump draft thing going. I think it will, this is going to be a different kind of race. I think handling is going to be really important. And the other thing about the bump drafting, when the bumpers do line up, it doesn't cause the problem that we saw with the other cars. We had a lot of wrecks in the other cars that people said were bump drafting when it was just wrecking. There's a difference. You know, running into the back of somebody isn't bump drafting. That's running into the back of them. Those mistakes won't show up as much in this car because the bumpers do line up. You think about Martinsville in the spring, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson racing. You know, Jeff gave me some pretty good shots, and nothing happened. Had he done that with the old car, something would have happened. So bump drafting is going to always be an issue. I think it's actually less of a negative with this car because the bumpers do line up, which of course that means we're going to do it more, which of course that means might put us right back in the same spot. So ultimately the bumpers lining up are a good thing, but I honestly believe that handling is going to be so important after 15, 20 laps that bump drafting is not going to be the major.
And that's the story. Today, leading up to Daytona 500 Speed Weeks, Mike Mulhern for the Winston-Salem Journal and JournalNow.com.